Hello, my name is Sandy West, and this is my first semester at UAF and my first time taking classes in about 16 years. I'm taking this course as a requirement for the Bachelor's of Social Work program. I have a degree in biology from Oregon State University, and I worked for about 10 years for the Department of Environmental Conservation as a biologist and another 4 at an environmental consulting firm. And now I work at Yacuz, which is the alternative high school in Juneau. I've lived in Juneau for about 24 years with my husband, Andy. He has a brother who's an anthropologist and a sister who's an archaeologist. I have 2 very active boys. They are 16 and 13. And I have 1 very lazy golden retriever. Her name is Sunday, and she's 5 years old. I spend my weekends and weeknights mostly watching sports. My kids play hockey and soccer, tennis, fencing. They both run cross country, and it's a big part of our lives when we are not driving to sports or playing sports. We are fundraising for sports. I'm sure other parents out there can relate to that. My family and I like to travel. It's one of our favorite things we do together. We just got back from South Africa on Wednesday. I had been an exchange student to South Africa when I was 18, before the current regime, so back in the apartheid era. Nelson Mandela became president in 1994. That's when they started having general elections and moving towards a more liberal government. It was a great trip, and I think a lot of the concepts, like in the Clifford article, are really relevant to what's going on in South Africa. So I'm hoping to get some insight there. Here's a Far Side cartoon where the locals are hiding all their precious belongings and yelling, "Anthropologists, anthropologists." I thought that was relevant. I'm new to anthropology, and a lot of the concepts in Looking Several Ways were things I'd never thought about before. When I started reading the article, and it was referring to historical archaeologists as arrogant, intrusive, colonial, my first thought was that their actions were acceptable at their time, and that we were looking at it through our politically correct historical lens. But then as I kept reading, I had some other thoughts. So the Hardlicka expedition of 1931, this was on page 18 of the article, on Kodiak Island, he goes up to Larsen Bay and essentially pulls in, from what it sounds, in front of the locals and digs up graves and bones and takes them back to the Smithsonian. And I can't even imagine the trauma, that the locals, what that would be, not having anybody consult you, and I'm sure there were language barriers and just general insensitivity. I did some research into it. In 1991, the remains were returned to Larsen Bay, and here's a website where they're showing the boxes of remains going back into the ground. And according to this website, the woman telling the story said that they took the bodies of 765 people, some of them as old as 2,000 years old. And in 1991, there was a ceremony with elders and the Russian Orthodox Church where they reburied the remains. But in the website, the woman was saying that the elders and the people that were dug up were not Russian Orthodox. So she was a little outraged by more colonization by having them buried and blessed under Christianity. So I thought that was interesting. So my takeaway from the project was that the Carlick project, it said it took 2 decades to negotiate and come up with strategies of how Native communities and elders and funding sources and academics can get together and excavate in a way that makes everybody walk away feeling happy, even if they don't agree on the results. So I think it's kind of like everyone else said, it just comes down to lots of mutual respect. And thank you very much.